Welcome back to Wise Men Company, everyone. Ben here today, and we're going to cover micro red dots, my top 5 micro red dots. Primarily, I use these type of dots on handguns. It's no secret anymore that micro red dots on top of a pistol, a handgun, is pretty valuable. There's a lot of benefits from doing that. I have used some of the micro red dots that you'll see today on rifles like offset or on subguns as well. But again, primarily you're going to see them on handguns because that's where I use them the most. Now, this is my top 5. So we're going to start with 5 and work our way to number 1. And this isn't going to be a full review on every single dot. I'm going to touch on the points that I like about it, move on to the next one until we get to numero uno. All right, let's start with number 5. And this one is coming straight from the land of Corona, from Trijicon. Give it up for the Holosun 407. And I have one right here. Holosun 407 is an RMR footprint. It's shaped similar to an RMR, similar window size. For those of you that don't know, Holosun has exploded onto the scene in the last few years. They're making some high quality red dots at a lower price point. Again, these are coming from China. They're coming from overseas. So that's why you're seeing that lower price point with them. Originally, when everyone saw these Holosuns come out, the stigma was that they are cheap Chinese-made optics and they're not going to last. Here we are, 2020, and a lot of people are switching over to Holosun. Something to note, this is the first generation of the 407. This is not their V2 or their version 2. Again, you can tell because there's no solar panel on top. It is just a dot powered by a battery, so no solar option on this generation 1. The V2, I believe, has the solar panel on top. Buttons are on the side. You're getting 3 different reticles typically. With the 407, you're only going to get 1 reticle, I believe, and that is just that 2 MOA dot inside, which that's what I prefer. I don't like using the 32 MOA ring with the dot in the center, that EOTech style reticle. I just like a fine dot. So for this one, it's riding on my Archon Type B right here. This slide was cut by Mac Defense, for those of you that will ask, and he does a great job, but it has an RMR footprint on here, so if I don't want to use a Holosun, I can go to an RMR or an SRO or something like that. So number 5 on my list, I think the 407 is probably the best bang for your buck out there. If you're nervous about getting into the dot life, this might be a good place to start because it's a low investment. You can find these, oh man, you can find these for 140, 150 bucks depending on the sale, and they're all over the place right now. In the number 4 spot is the Trijicon SRO, and I haven't had the Trijicon SRO very long, and it's kind of disappointing because I really like this dot. Initially, when this came out at NRA show, everyone picked it up. They liked it, including myself. I liked the big field of view. I liked that it still used an RMR footprint. Controls were very similar. It has a top-loading battery instead of a battery that's underneath, so that was a huge perk for maintenance purposes. I don't need to remove this from the slide. A lot of people don't think about swapping batteries or maintenance in general until you have to do it, and then you're like, oh man, a battery underneath is kind of a pain in the ass. Top-loading battery. I think all dots should move that direction because it makes maintenance so easy. So SRO, maintenance-wise, it's definitely better than the RMR or any of the other dots that have a bottom-loading battery. Anyway, coming out of the NRA show, I kind of put this aside. I didn't pay attention to it for a long time. I had a lot of buddies that picked up the SRO, and they loved it. There were some reviews that came out saying that it's not as durable as the RMR, and Trijicon fully admits that it's not as durable as the RMR. It was never meant for duty use. And everyone loves to say like, well, I want something that's duty use, duty this and duty that. And how many times can I say duty? When in reality, most of you are gonna buy a dot and you're probably gonna just leave it in your safe for the majority of the time. Not a knock, I'm just saying, let's be realistic here. We're not using these guns for duty applications. We might CCW it, carry it around. We're not living or working the lifestyle of a police officer. So does it need to be as rugged as an RMR? That's really, again, up to you. For a lot of us, no, it doesn't. This is more of a competition style dot. Circular window, 2.5 MOA dot inside, which makes it really easy to use. Fine dot, and your eye just kind of wants to put that dot in the center of the circle automatically. So again, it's very easy to use. Glass is clear, and the buttons are similar to the RMR, which you have a plus on one side and a minus on the other. You can kind of toggle it underneath a t-shirt if you needed to, if you know what setting you're on. Just really, really easy to use. I have it on the OZ9, did a review on this gun. There'll be an update review on this gun, but I really like the SRO. It is very easy to use, and I can see myself using this micro red dot way more than some of the other ones you will see today. But for right now, I haven't had it long. I need to use it more and see what it's capable of, see if it's gonna work for me. Moving to the number 3 spot, and this might not be a surprise for many of you out there, it is the Holosun 507. I have 2 Holosuns in this video because they're great. They work. They're awesome. I've never even had to send a Holosun back. I've never even had to change a Holosun battery. How about that? But number 3 spot is the 507. The 507 has 3 reticles, so you're getting the 2 MOA dot, you're getting the 32 MOA ring, and then I think you can just run the 32 MOA ring, like if you're running it on a shotgun or something like that. So 3 different reticle options. It has the solar panel on top. I've been running this one for a long time. You've seen this all over the channel. I've had it on a Glock 34. I've had it on the 45, G45. I've run it on the SIG Copperhead. I've used it a ton, and again, I've never even had to change the battery. It has taken a beating and kept on going. So in the number 3 spot is the 507. The 507 also has that RMR footprint like we stated on the 407, so a lot of my slides are already cut for the RMR footprint, easy to swap around, change, plus and minus buttons on the side. Not as easy as toggling the RMR or the SRO buttons because, again, they're both on one side and they're tiny, so they're kind of hard to get to. One big drawback from the 507, which I already mentioned on the 407, was that it is a bottom-loading battery. So if you can see past that and appreciate the reliability, the long battery life, reticle options, I think that is a big winner for a lot of you out there. Price point on them, you're going to find them for around $300 to $250, somewhere in that range, again, depending on the sale and where you're shopping. Big bang for your buck with the 507, so that's in my number 3 spot. Number 2, and this is quickly, I can see this quickly becoming my number 1 micro red dot, and it is the Leupold DPP. I have 2 Leupold DPPs, Delta Point Pros, in my possession. And these have been in my possession or around me for the last 2 to 3 years. Let me give you some background story. So, do you have buddies that you trade gear with constantly, swap stuff around? Hey, can I borrow that? Can you use this? It's kind of a weird relationship. I have those buddies. So, Chris Moon from Lunar Concepts, Josh from IC13 Arms, we've been trading these 2 Delta Point Pros around for the last 2 to 3 years. More one than the other. The first one I have is the 2.5 MOA dot. And the other one I have is a triangle reticle inside of it. The 2.5 MOA dot has been with Josh for some of the time. It's been with me for some of the time. We've been swapping it around like crazy. It's now in my possession. I am now the sole owner of it. The triangle version has been on Chris Moon's Glock 19 for 2 to 3 years since I got it. I got them both around the same time. He's carried it. It's been at almost every range session I've been a part of. These dots have just worked on multiple handguns, no issues. Changed some batteries once in a while, but as far as reliability goes, I can't knock the Leupold DPP because they've just worked. No issues to report. Battery is top loading, so that's another big perk. Easy to swap in and out, don't have to take it off the gun. We've covered that to death already. One drawback with the Delta Point Pro is the brightness settings. It's one big button right around the battery compartment, behind the glass, in front of the emitter. It's kind of difficult to get to, and you have to cycle through settings. So it goes up, and then it'll go back down. You can't really do it under a t-shirt. You don't know really what you got. You kind of have to look at the dot, cycle through till you get a setting that's going to cover the majority of your lighting situations out there. So as far as adjusting the brightness on the dot, that is one drawback that I have found from the Leupold DPP. They have released their second version of the Delta Point Pro, and that is a night vision compatible one, so it has a night vision setting. Not that important to me, but for a lot of you out there that shoot a lot of under nods, things like that, you might want that. The footprint on the DPP is its own proprietary footprint, so it is hard to swap around. I run it on my SIG and I run it on my Glock 34 that you'll see that has a adapter plate from Mac Defense, so I can run that Leupold DPP on there. Most SIGs are cut for the Leupold DPP as well as the SIG Romeo. So footprint wise, you're kind of limited unless you get it definitely like dedicated cut for the Leupold DPP. Glass is what you'd expect of the Leupold micro dot. Clear, crisp glass, crisp dot, 2.5 MOA dot. Awesome to shoot. Big field of view, which I like. You can take in a lot of information. Just a super easy dot to use. And again, that is creeping towards my #1 dot right now. I just really enjoy using it. It does have a little bit of a orange tint to the dot, so if that turns you off a little bit, it's not like bright red or green, it's like an orangish color. Doesn't bother me at all. Again, I really like the DPP, and I think I'll be getting more slides cut for that footprint in the future. And finally, in the #1 spot, the almighty RMR from Trijicon. The more I shoot micro dots on handguns, the less I start to like the Trijicon RMR. And I'll give you some good reasons. The tiny window is one of them. If you run backup irons in it, it really diminishes it. I try not to run backup irons. I do have a set on that G45 that kind of gives you like a lower 1/3 co-witness. And then on the Glock 26, they don't come up in the window at all. So they're pretty negligible. They're just basically placeholders. So if you don't run backup irons in the window, it's small. If you do run backup irons in the window, the field of view seems to be even smaller. So that is one drawback for me. Second one is reliability, and that might be surprising to you, a lot of you. Out of all the micro dots I own, I've only ever had to send back Trijicon RMRs. Now granted, I run Trijicon RMRs way more than any of the other micro dots I have currently. There's more time on those, so they've been getting banged up, beat up. You know, some of it is solely my fault because maybe I just chuck a gun around or chuck it in a bag and it bounces off something. I don't treat my equipment particularly kindly, but those are the only dots I've had to send back. The last one I had to send back was this RMR you see on this Glock 26. This is a Type 1. There is a Type 2 that they have some improvements on, but this Type 1 I had to send back because the minus button stopped working, so I couldn't dim it. Anytime I wanted to dim it, I would have to take it off the slide, take out the battery, resetting the dot, put it all back together, and then I could just go up again. So I had to send it back because the minus button wasn't working. On the Glock 45 here, the windage and elevation turrets stopped working, so I couldn't shift the dot, change my zero. I knew it bounced out of zero, like just slightly, not even so much. So I just tweaking it a little bit, and I noticed that nothing was moving. Dot was still working. Dot was still working on the other one, perfectly fine. They didn't go out. They didn't break in that sense, but they weren't working as they were advertised. So I sent them back. Trijicon obviously did a good job, fixed them, and sent them back to me. So it wasn't, the issues weren't big enough to make me stop carrying them. I still think the track record of the Trijicon RMRs speak for themselves. It's military grade equipment, which can be good, can be bad depending on your perspective. But I still think Trijicon RMRs are some of the toughest, most reliable micro red dots on the market. Now again, that is changing. They are falling a little bit from grace, in my opinion. I can see that DPP kind of sliding into that #1 spot. I could see Holosun sliding into that #1 spot. If they keep going on the track they're going, they're doing some really good things as well. Bottom line, I like all these dots. They're great, and I'm kind of picking them here and there, but I want to give you guys good feedback because I know some of you might be buying a dot for the first time, and it is not a low-cost investment. You're getting your slide cut, and you're buying the optic itself. You're kind of changing your training regimen a little bit to get acquainted to the micro dot. So I want to give you guys good information. Again, this is just my experience of one person. And for the majority of these dots, I've been running them solid for the last 2 to 3 years. The SRO is the only new one to the lineup. And that honestly probably would have been higher up if I had more time on it, but we need to see if it's gonna cut the mustard in the long term. So I hope this makes sense. Those are my top 5 microdots. If you think there should be a different one in my top 5, please leave me a comment below. I wanna hear from you guys. As always, let's talk about this. Let's figure it out. I really enjoy conversating with you guys on these topics because I wanna learn from you guys as well. So jump down in the comments, leave me a comment. Let me know what you think should be in my top 5 or if I missed anything, should shuffle them around at all. Thank you for watching. Hit that subscribe button, hit the thumbs up. Go over to wisemancompany.com. That's the best way to support us. We have a ton of gear over there that you can choose from. That's gonna help you out on your daily EDC, on your range trips, for your AR-15s. There's a ton of gear over there that's gonna help you guys out. And again, that's the best way to support us. Guys, thank you. My name is Ben. We'll see you on the next video. This video was brought to you by Topo Chico. Topo Chico? Topo Chico? Anyway, I love this stuff. This is the best.